Subwoofer calibration today. Yeah, I've been learning a lot about how to use this app and what it's good for and what it's not quite so good for. So let's just load the calibration right now, because I need to clear the subwoofer calibration right now. Let's connect. And I want to show you quickly. Import target curves works great for speakers from 50 hertz all the way to 20k. It works excellently. The resolution is more than enough really for any speaker and for whatever you hear, and it's excellent. But I contacted Odyssey about this, and I wanted to know if this was actually the limit, because it says here import points are limited, essentially 3 hertz apart. And I actually confirmed this as well with Odyssey, that this is the limit of the imports currently. I don't think they can get any more resolution than this. And why this is important is because if you want to make adjustments between, let's just say, 30 hertz and 32 hertz, well, you can't do that with this. So it's trying to follow a track, but only within 3 hertz apart of range, and that's just not, it's not good enough. It's great, it's incredible for speakers like doing this. It just did not work with but doing this the way I wanted it to do, with importing the targets curve. If they got it within 1 hertz, you might be able to do it. I mean, yeah, I think you would be able to do it. You'd get unbelievable response, but you can still get incredible response doing it with the import EQ method. So another thing, you are restricted to plus 24 dB and negative 24 dB on this app. However, that's just, again, I contacted Odyssey about this because I wanted to know how and what exactly is happening with this app. When you override, these are the 2 things that I think everyone should be checked. These 2. This I didn't find that it was actually any good at all, unless you really actually just want to boost. Because I cut most of the time. I cut, and on the subwoofer I will pretty much cut only. Well, actually, that's not true. No, I will cut. Mostly it's cut, but there is some boosting. But it's not by an amount that I would need this. So override filter cut limit to negative 40 dB. What that means is when you import an EQ, you can only import up to 25 dB. That is the most a filter can actually be at one time. However, you've still got 15 dB left, right? You've still got some of this left. So you can import a negative 20 dB cut, and then you can import another 20 dB cut. So yeah, I had to work all of this out, and just some of the restrictions and limitations that this app has, and just the way it's actually set up. For instance, before we want to do subwoofer calibration, but I just want people to see how this app actually works as well. If you disable auto leveling that's down here, if you actually disable that, and then add an EQ. So let's put a low order shelf in. Let's use the same room curve that essentially I'm using, 0.7. And let's say I want to increase the gain by plus 15. Okay, so it's showing on the EQ here that the plus 15 is happening. This has been volume balanced, so it's showing something different here. To be honest, I actually don't need volume balancing on, do I? If you disable it, look what happens. It just jumps right back up to the 0 dB line, and you're actually raising it properly. So when you come into the filter settings over here, which is always slow, let's go down to subwoofer. If you see here, it's hard capped at 10 dB. It's because if you are at the 0 dB line, you can only increase the boost by that amount, by +10. You cannot increase it by any more. What you can do though is bring a curve in across the entire spectrum from 10 to 20 and lower this by, let's just say lower it by 10 dB, right? You lower it by 10 dB, then you can boost. Then you can boost the full amount. So as long as your EQs are all under 0 dB, like let's just say they were down here at -10, now you can apply a 15 dB boost because you are under this cap of +10 dB. So you can go all the way down, I think, yeah, I mean, down to 40, which is not even on this graph. So now if you did just want to boost, this is one way to do it. You can enable more headroom and do it that way. But what I've found is when you enable this, it actually robs EQ if you wanted to go further, lower than 20 dB or something like that. It robs that and puts it into a positive instead. So I don't really advise this, and I don't think it's needed anyway. I really don't. From all the EQ that I've been doing, you don't actually need to enable this, because if you've got EQ down, let's just say you had an EQ that was down by -20, this may not, if you enable this, it may not be -20 anymore. So really just over the past 2 weeks I've been learning the ins and outs of this, and it became more apparent that I didn't understand what a lot of this meant because I only did my speakers, and my speakers were in a +6 dB threshold, negative or positive. I didn't need any overrides. I didn't need more headroom. I didn't need anything. The subwoofer though, and the way I'm going to calibrate today, I will need that. So a quick shout out to this guy, Co Guy Stuff or CO Guy Stuff. He made a video about 3 years ago explaining a new method of EQing his sub, and what he did was he actually EQ'd the sub completely flat first, right? And what that does is it essentially removes your room. It completely removes all of the room from the subwoofer, and you won't have any bass at all. However, you can apply the room curve back in using a shelf filter, and ever since I did that, I got much better calibration results than just excuse me, than going onto REW, putting in a room curve, calibrating to that, putting the EQ in, and if you want to change anything, you can't now. You have to just you have to do it again. And I was like, there has to be a better way. And then when I saw this guy's video, I'm like, yeah, this is the method that I want to use. So yeah, shout out to that guy. I'll put his link in the description for his channel. So yeah, that's the method that I'm going to use today. You essentially EQ to a flat line, and you put your room curve in after. Now, I have methods for working out my room curve, and I don't know how 100% accurate it is, but to me, I think it's the best way to do it. So let's get into this and let's get measuring. So before we do this, actually I need to transfer these let's just come out of this, just in case I've made any changes. And alright. Okay, existing YouTube. Alright, so we just need to send this to the receiver, because there's no EQ and calibration work done on it. We're in feet, that's okay. Alright, I'm just double checking some of these settings, and let me just double check there's no EQ work done on the subwoofer. Nothing. And auto leveling is disabled. So if you want to EQ your subs using Odyssey, you have to disable auto leveling, because it basically negates all of the work that you do. If you have balancing on, it just doesn't work. So yeah, let's finalize that. Let's transfer everything. So this is now a clean subwoofer with no EQ work done on it whatsoever. The time alignment is done by Odyssey itself, so we're going to see how accurate that is as well. Alright, so while that is sending, let's go over the settings really quick in here. So we can now use exclusive Denon driver essentially for the output. My laptop was restricted to this, and there was a firmware update for it about 2 weeks ago, and I tried again. I was like, let me try again and see if it works, and now it works. So I can get I can use Java here and still get access to all of the channels, and it actually works. So, and this is really the resolution that you want to capture the subwoofer channel with. So we've got that cal file, so that's that. We got the calibration file in. Okay, we are good to go. Now I should have took a picture of this, but I think everyone should know what I mean. I'm just going to go to the menu here this is a Denon receiver. When you go to base, there's an option on the Denon receiver, and I think all receivers have this, but some you can't actually change it. It's called low pass filter for LFE. Everybody sets this to 120 Hertz. However, when you calibrate, you don't want to do this. The reason you don't want to do this is because bass from the mains and the other channels also gets directed to that subwoofer. So if you calibrate your subwoofer and you've already got 120 Hertz roll-off curve on it, then your calibration is set up for that and not for what is actually being measured. So I did a calibration with this at 120, and I could hear sounds that were meant to be like crossed over from my mains to my sub, but I heard them louder than they should be, and I was like, yep, I knew right away that it was that. Because back in the day when I've calibrated my subs with Mini-DSP, I had the same issue, and I made sure that I sent the low pass filter for LFE should be set to 250 Hertz for calibration. What this does is it sets the subwoofer channel, and it responds almost as though it's the mains channel now. There's no roll-off. It's took all the roll-offs away. It's just an open channel now, essentially, the subwoofer channel, and that is exactly as you want. Because I don't calibrate to just 80 Hertz and think, hey, we're rolling over now. It's just rolling off, so it doesn't matter. I don't do that, because there's rolling off at 80 Hertz is not a brick wall filter. There is still some things happening here, and they want to be rolled off smoothly. So imagine having a subwoofer that was perfectly calibrated to 80 Hertz, but because of the design of the subwoofer, or there's weird interactions in the room, somehow it got plussed up by like 16 dB, right? And you didn't account for that. that means it's not rolling off and connecting with your mains smoothly. It's being boosted in some weird way, and it's just, for me, that's not going to sound good. I think you want to EQ the full amount of your subwoofer, or where I think a subwoofer naturally drops off. So everything is, let me double check one thing. So timing reference output is the center channel. I think that is the best channel to use, personally. It's in the middle of the room as well. It's in between both subwoofers. I prefer that. I just think it's just something I do. So, okay, that's going to measure. We're going for the LFE. That doesn't matter. Oh no, yeah, that's the reference. That's the reference output. Okay. Now, I like to combine both of my subs just to get a general idea of the volume. And I like to set, when both are playing, at 85. I'm doing this on my phone. So I have the volume hopefully set right here. Sorry about this. That is okay. Now this should be 85. Okay, that's fine. So when both subwoofers are played, I like to set mine to 80, around 85. We got 86 there, but around there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn one sub off, which is the right one. Alright, that's right subwoofer's turned off, and now we're going to measure. Now I'm using fast, a fast like calibration here to measure it just for YouTube, so it is quick and that. But when I did my real calibration, I essentially made them as long as possible. Left sub, I guess default. Yeah, let's do that. And impulse as well. 14 milliseconds. Okay. Interesting. 53. Now we put the right sub back on. Same volume, and turn the left sub off. I do need to keep checking this because one of the subs doesn't really connect to this very well, so you have to keep watching it. Okay, now we do this one. Okay, right sub default. Yeah, let's just call it that for now. So yeah, why am I on this impulse? So this is the response from both subs. This is no EQ. This is it's really a mess, right? This is a complete mess. And you might think, oh my god, what can we do with this? You know, because that's really my first thought. You know, is look at this. That is interesting. So we're just all over the place. There's no, we've got a massive dip here. We've got dips on one of the subwoofers. Then the sub though, from 40 hertz, the sub actually tries to peak out and there's no more influence from the room. It really opens up here. So between 40 hertz and what is measured from the sub, 25, 24, the subs are measured at 25, and there it is. That is the performance of the subwoofer. You can't, in my opinion, you should never go above this. You should always allow your subwoofer to roll off naturally. Even with all the EQ work we're going to do today, I'll show you how to do that as well. And where does the performance of the subwoofer drop as well? You know, you can see here it is 163 hertz, right? The subwoofer has no more performance beyond that. It's clipping. It basically clips out, right? So this is the point where the subwoofer just cannot produce anymore. So it's between this range. If you told me what is the performance limitations of this subwoofer, it's around 160 hertz to around 24, 25. That's it. However much EQ you put in, you can't get more performance than that. If you try and get more bass in here, it's going to really stress your subwoofers, especially if you play movies loud like I do. So, yeah, I wanted to give you an idea though of even my setup, right? Which once it's all calibrated, sounds really, really good. I mean, it sounds excellent, and this is the response though that I have to deal with in a default setup. And I think a lot of people might have similar things like this, that they've never EQ'd before, and they don't really know what their subs would actually look like when they're measured, and it's not very good at all. There's 80 hertz peak going on here, so you might get some bass drum thuds and stuff, but it doesn't really go deep here, and you know, it's not even smooth. There's no curve on it or anything like that. So yeah, we all have it bad, trust me. It's all difficult. So all right. Yeah, my next door neighbour started to cut his grass, so let's hope you can't hear that. Yeah, when I calibrated my main calibration, I made sure nobody was even in the house. So I didn't even want nothing. Alright, let's check this out. So when you go to impulse over here, because we were using the chirps and the timing from the center speaker, the left sub is 14 milliseconds away. Or, you know, that's what it's measuring, 14 milliseconds away from the chirp. Now the right one here is 14.3. So it needs more delay to get it back to where both subwoofers are playing at the same time. You want your subwoofers to play at exactly the same time, and you will get a response that should be higher than this. Everything you see here, the response of the subwoofers when they play together and they're time aligned, should always be more than what we currently see here. And hopefully we're lucky, right? Some of these dips here and some of this hopefully will be cleared up. Some of this might even be cleared up as well when they both play together. So basically this is 0.3, or sorry, no, not 0.3, 14.3 milliseconds delay. So the difference between this one and that one is 0.3. So what we're going to do is reconnect to this, and we're going to put the delay in on the subs to get them the same. Now you might say to me, Odyssey can't do milliseconds, it can only do feet and meters. Well, on this app it can convert everything. If you want to use meters, you can. If you want to use feet, you can. If you want to use milliseconds, you can. So let's check this out. Calibration settings on here. You can see the distances. 17 feet. Okay. Now switch it. That's going to milliseconds. And it should instantly switch. Yeah. It's now not 17 anymore. It says FT here, that's just a display thing. But this is now in milliseconds, right? So basically this needed more delay to get it back so both subs were equal. So they're playing at exactly the same time on the impulse there. So let's put 61 because I just put 30 on. It said the difference was 30 milliseconds, so that's what I'm putting into this second subwoofer. So let's add that in. Let's go back to finalize. Now, unfortunately, to do time alignment work like this, Mini-DSP was easier, because Mini-DSP is, if you make a change, it's instantly reflected on the system. So you can just go in, you know, work out the difference in the time alignment, and you can just instantly do it, measure, instantly do it, measure. You have to import everything and reconnect and transfer filters every single time with Odyssey. It's annoying, but you know, this is how it is, you know. So yeah, it is slightly annoying, but you can get all of the work done that Mini-DSP can with this now. Now that we can stop the volume balancing. Volume balancing is excellent for your mains and all of the speakers here, as long as you're within a threshold, which my speakers were, and it balances it absolutely perfectly. Okay, so that's sent. Now what we do is we remeasure the right sub, and hopefully this 0.3, well, here's what I want. I want my left sub is 14 milliseconds, and I want my right sub to be exactly the same. Check levels, just in case the subwoofer fell asleep. I've had that before. Okay, 14 milliseconds, perfect. Right sub default. Okay, so now the left sub is 14 milliseconds from the chirp, and so is the right. So now I would consider them time aligned. They are producing the same sound at the same time. This is all I want. Now, right now, if anyone's like thinking, well, how do we align that to the mains? Don't worry about that right now. You know, we're just focusing on the subwoofers, getting the subwoofers to play at maximum volume and aligned together, so they're producing more than this, and hopefully we'll clean up some of this, right? This we're not going to completely clean up. But what I did was, is I like my subs at the front of the room. If you had something absolutely terrible, and you were able to move your subwoofer anywhere you want, like you just had complete choice of, hey, we could put it anywhere, then find places that remove this. The problem is, though, is if you remove this and smooth this out, does this suffer? So this is a real balancing act here. And what I did was I positioned my left and my right sub to the inch to get this as high as it could be. So this for me was my best response that I could get in this room. The left sub is slightly different as well compared to the right. You know, I got everything as close as possible to make this better. And yeah, I'll show you though, we can still get really great results. So now we can put both subwoofers back on. 53. One just disconnected. Okay. That's the problem with these apps. Or the subwoofer, you know, you get a finicky subwoofer that doesn't like to connect all the time. Okay, now the volume is back. Let's double check the subs. 87. Let's double check that. Okay. Now what we've got is the summed response. I'm just going to call it time aligned. Time aligned. Okay, now everything is above left and right response, which it should be, but you can get issues with, hey, I've just put a subwoofer in the left corner and I'll put a subwoofer over here, and the response is actually worse. I've seen a lot of people's responses for subwoofers on forums, on YouTube, and yeah, it's no one's got it easy. I'm telling you right now, no one's got it easy. So yeah, but so let's look at this now. This is the response of both subwoofers. This is exactly what we've got. It's cleaned up some of the dipping here, so one sub has helped out the other. This is smoother as well. Where do we go here? So that's about 130, and this is 160. Okay. And the sub absolutely drops after 160. So now you could say to me, well, look, the subwoofer really only needs about 120. I agree. I do agree with that. But again, the 120 Hz roll-off for the subwoofer channel is rolling off. It's not a brick wall filter as well. So I just imagine this was 10 dB higher. I wouldn't want that. I want it to still be smooth. Okay, so now what we do is we go to EQ, and let's have a look what we actually have here. Where is my target curve? There it is. Alright, my target curve is that I want a straight line. And again, yes, this does remove the entire room from the equation, but we're going to put that back in. So let's check this out. We're at 75 dB now. Now, where do I want to EQ to? We could do that. We could do that. What this would do is it would bring absolutely everything down, and it would probably try and bring this up too. I am going to use a little boosting here, just to see if we can help it. I know this is a room thing, and I don't want to go too heavy with this, but you know. So now, where do we end it? Where should we end it? We could end it at 162, right? Because that is where the subwoofer actually drops off, entirely drops off. So let's just do that. 162. Yeah, I'm going to go 162. Let's do that. Now EQ here, we can come a little further by the looks of it. 20. No, that's too much. I don't want to ever boost down there. There, that's fine. I'm not boosting or doing anything here. That's never going to happen. A little play here or whatever I maybe need to do here, but when you get into these seriously deep frequencies, I don't want to do that. So yeah. Now what I've got here is individual max boost at 18 and 12, and the flatness target is 1, which is the most accurate or closely aligned to the target curve it will try and get to. So probably could go, yeah, 63. That looks good to me, I think. Yeah, I mean I could even go right to that point there, but all right, match response. Okay, predicted is there, and these are all the filters that we get here. Now one there's being boosted by plus 18. Hide all. That's that dip. So let's actually check, because I like to check the actual EQ, just to see what it actually looks like. It's pretty good. It's pretty flat. Like if you just think about this from a flatness point of view, it's pretty good, but it's having issues here, right? And there's no EQ. There's no EQ here being applied either. So that could definitely be cleaned up, 100%. Now, here's what you could do. You could continue to go up and down and find a better EQ. One thing I do want to discuss here, and it just clicked that I wasn't doing this because I looked at the EQ filters and they were only using EQs of 4s, 5s, 7s, 4s, 5, 5s, and they're capped out essentially. I don't want to reconnect for now. When you import EQ, it says here no AP modal filters or whatever here that are supported, so they need to be unchecked. However, there is still a workaround for this. You can use them. You just can't go above 10 on the Q. So what you could do is you can, I don't think this matters, vary max Q above 200, I don't think that matters. So use narrow filters essentially below 200 Hz, which Odyssey cannot do. However, as long as the Q is not above 10, it's usable. So let's see. Okay, a lot more filters there as well we used. Yeah, now look, these are using 18s. You can't do that. This is using a 13. That's using a 30. That's impossible. You can't do that. So, what we can do though is let's put these back on and just test some. Where's my target? Test a few spots or areas. Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. That's bad. 72. Okay. Just test a few areas and see if you can get a different response. Oh, that one's got a 45. That's a shame. Why is that? Let's just go one up, or two up there. $15Q. What I'm trying to do is trying to get the most accurate response initially. I'm just going to go up one now each time just to see if I can not get any of these sharp filters. That's a 22. If that didn't have a 22, that would be a perfect one. Okay, now 1 second. Let's go back one. I think it was for one of these, and if that is the case, we don't need it. We're just going to let it go. So it's 12. We don't need it. We don't need this. Oh, there's 20s there. May not need that either. So what we could do is lower this slightly to 160. Okay. 11, it's not too bad. That's actually really good, like that. Only one is above 10, and even then Odyssey will cap it. Odyssey will cap this. It will just use 10, it won't use 11, which is fine. And we get this response. Now you can play, I mean I do. Trust me, I've done this a lot, where I've just spent time just going through where can I bring this to where I get good response, and still use narrow filters and get over this a little. So that to me looks like a good response. Chances are that the measured response won't be quite the same, but it doesn't matter because we can stack EQs. So export filter settings as text, and let's import this to, that's the full calibration, we don't want that. U2 calibration, YouTube subs. Let's do this. YouTube subs 1. Yeah, let's do that, just in case there is another one, which there probably will be. So let's reconnect, and now we import these. So one of them is 11Q, but what we should see here, if we can find it, is it should just cap it off at 10, which is not the end of the world. And again, it's high up, so you know, you probably won't even hear it wherever it was, 160 around there. So we make sure we've got both subs there, and we import that. Okay, that's the response we get. So it's pulling down a lot. Now how high? Alright, so 10. Q was 11 and it stayed in. You shouldn't be able to do that. This should normally, unless there's been an update for this, should just cap out at 10. Now the system may be capped out and you can write higher than that, but I didn't think that you should be able to do this, so I don't know if that is an update, or again the system just says, look, we're not going to take that information anyway. So yeah, this is what we have. Let's go to filter settings. And this takes a long time. And see what we have here. I keep losing my mouse. There it is. So, yeah, so we're coming down low. I mean, I think one of them was a negative... Was it a negative 18 or a positive 18? It was around there, but we're coming low, right? We're actually reducing this by a significant amount just to get a target, well, for now, a target curve that is flat, right? But remember, we'll put it all back in, so don't worry. Oh, I need to transfer that. Alright, so yeah, that's it. So we're going to transfer that. Now, if anyone's looking at this and saying, well, I think you could have done this and the EQ could have got this response, right now, don't worry about that. Like even myself, I'm doing this live, right? You know, if it was my for real calibration, I would probably be a while figuring out exactly where the best spot was, what gave me the best. But one thing to always bear in mind is, especially with Odyssey here, is if there was an imperfection in there, I can just put another EQ on there. That is the beauty of this. And it doesn't actually affect timing by much, because I actually measured the timing after on my real calibration, and I think it's only by 1 millisecond. So it's It's not too bad. It doesn't seem to affect timing by much by applying really as many EQ filters as you want almost. So okay, let's get that sent. That is finished. And let's see what response we actually get from this. The levels are going to be lower. 75 dB. For now, I am just going to leave the volume at that. And we'll just measure. Okay. Flat cal. Let's just call it that for now. Flat cal. So pretty good. Let's remove this. Let's see what is actually going on here. So when you look at it this way, the from around 55, we're actually losing a decibel or two in volume here. Again, we're just looking. If I had this response, but down here, I'd be finished with the calibration. So I think we can just pick this up slightly because this is a 2 dB loss by the looks of it. Where is so flat cal is 72, 74. Yeah, you're losing 2 dB here, and I'm not saying you know there is dips here and stuff like that. That's actually fine, but I just want the general volume here to be as flat, really flat, as possible. So let's come in and EQ this. Target. And yeah, let's now EQ this again. So if I did that, would it boost? Would it boost these? Let's see. There's a lot of EQs there. I don't think that was right. They're all under 10. Negative 25. See, some of these are not right. I wouldn't want that. Okay, so let's just do this instead. Let's just change it. I have seen this before, where some of the measurements gave me really wild numbers, and I'm like, I don't think so. So plus 18. Am I on the right one? Yeah, I think so. That is selected. Okay, let's keep going. Let's just see if one can give us a good response, and that I think is accurate to this predicted. Okay, 16, 12. Okay, now some of these are getting aggressive on the cues, if you see here, which is not something I want to do. But if Odyssey is allowing them, I could at least try it. But the fact that you would need this many EQs just to clean this up, I don't know. Let's just try another direction and see what happens. We don't want to go down by much. Okay. Some 16s in here. Okay, now what we could do is turn off narrow filters, just now turn it off, because generally speaking, we're close to where we want to be, and we don't need now these aggressive cues that seem to be being applied here. So let's just see if that helps. Okay, obviously it does help. And now we've got more reasonable numbers as well. Just negative, negative 1.5, negative 3 here, just to help out. That's all I was asking for. Well, for now, let's do this. Generate measurement from predicted, and let's just see what it looks like compared to what we have. Right, so this is actually looking more reasonable for me, because this volume here, around 110 Hertz, around there, is essentially the same volume all the way down now. You haven't got this dip here. See here, you actually had the dip. This is really all I wanted to clean up, right? You could probably spend hours and hours going over multiple EQs where you really clean a lot of this up, but a lot of these little waves here, if you're within 1 to 2 dB, well, let's say this 1 dB, which we really are. This is that problem again that we have with the room. It's been cleaned up significantly, so I wouldn't want to go, I think that's enough. So now if we can get this response, this would be excellent for me. That's a really nice response. This is completely unsmoothed, by the way. There's no smoothing going on here or anything. So you want as much accuracy as possible when you're doing your subs. You don't want any smoothing whatsoever. So export settings as text. This is well, this is the second one. And reconnect. And now we transfer that. This just should help with some alignment in volume differences there that I want to clean up before we really start going ahead with the room curve and things like that. So just import again, and oh, there it is. And you import it to the we're not using a single sub, we're using the double sub, so this is why you import here. So this is number 2. Okay, 9 EQs. And hasn't really changed too much here, and it shouldn't, because we were only using like -1 numbers and things like that. We were just cleaning things up. That's all we were doing. All of this was. So if you want to see what it looks like here, you can. Filter settings, and that's full screened. So we've significantly lowered volume in the sub channel, right? We are going to correct for this, don't worry. But that's all the EQ work been applied to just the sub channel. And now we transfer that. On my real calibration that I did last week, I did not find that I needed more than 2 calibrations being sent like this. One was to get a general idea, or the subs generally speaking sounding flat, or measuring flat. Once you get to that point, now it is just a fine tune. That's all it is, a fine tune. And like I said, I think the best way to do that is, as long as you're not getting any weird things going on, is to try and now get it to track around that same level the entire way. That's it. That's really all you need to do. So and once you're happy with your flat calibration, you can do anything you want then with your system. If you want to apply a 10 dB room curve, you can apply a 10 dB. You can do anything you want after that point. But the goal here is to just get this type of response first. So all right, let's see what's happened. Okay, yeah, we are lowering the volume again a bit much here, but for now I just want to see what the level's like. Okay, yeah, as predicted, and great. So that was the EQ flat. Yeah, that was the predicted. So that can go. And this is exactly what I want. So flat cal 2. This is excellent. That is excellent. That's a, you know, you're going to have an issue. I mean, I don't know how your room is. You might have an issue here. You know, you might even have one of the issues here, and I don't, you know. There's going to be parts in your room that aren't going to be absolutely perfect. You know, there is an issue here, unquestionably, but we've done our best to clean that up. You know, this is the original calibration. Massive, gigantic difference between that, and we've tried to help this as much as we can. So now, how do we get this back? How do we get, like, and how do we create a room curve from this? It's actually pretty easy. So this is the volume of the subwoofer, right, in its default state. Essentially, what we want to do is we want to get this this orange back to this level. Then I can work out how much room curve to apply to get to this point. So let me just see what the dB difference is between these 2 points. 84 and 76. I'm going to apply 5 on each one. That might even be too aggressive. I could apply 4. I want to get this now, or this point actually, because it mirrors this, what's actually happening. What did we EQ to? 160. So yeah, some of this is, yeah, we EQ'd to that point there. That's why this point is kind of still being boosted up a little. But we want to get back to this point. Another telltale sign, and again, I'm kind of trying to get you thinking about this. What are the telltale signs with your subwoofer? This dip here is a point where you could reference to in volume as well. That's an exact point right there where you could. So let's increase the volume of the subs by, let's go 5. Just seeing if it's applying to both. Now I'm not boosting the volume on the receiver yet. I don't want to do that yet. I'm actually doing this on the changing the volumes of the subwoofers, not the receiver. Okay, that's done. So let's just check. 76. Didn't seem to go up by much. Let's remeasure. Okay, so we want to apply significantly more than this. Okay, that's been applied. Start. Now that's reasonable. That can go. That is more reasonable. Do I put a bit more in? What's the difference between this? 80. I think we can put a bit more in there. I think this is our point where we want to get to. I'm going to just try 1 on each sub, 1 volume increase on each sub, and just see what we get. I want this. It'll all right now you're probably thinking this doesn't make sense, but it will it will make sense in the end, exactly what I'm doing here. So let's remeasure. Okay, we're close. Let's pull that one out. Very close. I'm going to go one more, and I think that'll be it. So 65. Okay, both are 65. Yep. Remeasure. Okay, that's close. That's extremely close. Let's delete the other one. Volume adjusted. I'm just going to call that volume adjusted. So what we've done is we've got the volume, generally speaking, flat to a point. We've picked a point here which I thought was about where we should be, because we was EQing to around this point, and I think this is the best way to do it. Now I wouldn't do this part. I think this part is where you want to be starting from. So now what we do is we make a room curve for this response. So if the low point is here at, say, 154, we want this purple line to come up to this point, which is the original response of the subwoofer. That is how I create a room curve that is specific to the subwoofer and specific to the room, because this point is the point where the speakers match in volume, basically, or where I've aligned them to. And I think they just hit each other here because I've EQ'd to just this point, and they're matching. It's actually matching here as well. That's what I do. I just pick a point on the subwoofer where I can do this, where they match back to the original measurement. It seems to work. It's worked for me, and I get absolutely tremendous results doing this. Okay, how do we do this? Reconnect. I want to match the response and not go above the response of the original subwoofer. So, what is the difference in volume between these? 84, 81. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry, 90 and 81.8. Okay. It's about 8 dB. About. Roughly. Right now. So let's see if we can do this. So parametric EQ. Did I press the wrong button? It's just not working. I think my my app is bugging out, so let's save it before we do anything and come out of this. I have had this before where it Odyssey has just bugged out like that, and it did not become responsive, so okay. I had to go away for 1 second just there, so I am back now. Hopefully you won't see any disruption in the video. Hopefully I can connect these two videos correctly. So let's connect to the system again. Yeah, Odyssey was bugging out. Okay. So let's see. Add new tab. Parametric EQ. It's still bugging out. Is it adding one? Let's see. That's the second EQ. There was 9 of them. Okay, 9. Now what is this? Ah, so it was adding them. Yeah, it was adding them, I couldn't see it. Okay. Alright, there we go. Okay, yeah. Alright, let's name this room curve. Okay, this is what I've been doing on Mini-DSP, and it works for me. I set the frequency to 63. The Q is 0.7, and what will we be missing? 8 dB. Oh god, no. 8. Okay, this is not a parametric filter, this is a low shelf second order. There we go. Perfect. It's being applied to every channel. We don't want that either. Whew. These things you have to work with, eh? Alright, now it's just been applied to the sub. Great. This is a room curve for the sub. It's plus 8 dB. From what I'm seeing, if 8 dB here translates to 8 dB actually in the measurement, then this is exactly as it should be. So it's applying, you can see it essentially applying here. If you can't see that, let's go to this, and it will show us a bigger idea of what's actually happening. So, subwoofer, and yeah, we've essentially applied that room curve here, and it's applied it across the entire spectrum essentially. That's what it's doing. It's actually brought this peak here back to the 0 dB line, but a lot of the response is actually under. It's still under the 0 dB. Not sure how much difference that makes. One thing I will say though is if you do have issues with subwoofer sensitivity of it turning on, then maybe you might need to increase the volume of the subs on the receiver side, so there's more gain in the receiver itself. So yeah. Alright, so that's the room curve applied, and hopefully this is a room curve, number one, that is specific to the subwoofers and the room that I'm in. That's my thought process here of how do you create a room curve, because again I've been on the forums and stuff like that, and people are just saying try a 2, try a 4, try a 6 and see what works for you. I'm not like that. I want to try and find a system that I think works and will give me the response essentially of the original subwoofer but now calibrated. That's what I'm looking for with this. So yeah. Interestingly enough, 8 dB was the exact room curve that I applied on my Mini-DSP as well. I will show you. Should have the saves on here. I'm not going to connect to it, but I saved the files on here. 63, gain of 8, Q of 7. It gives you exactly this. Now, what my goal was I made a room curve, or the point of 63 frequency. I've seen others where they're 50 and things like that, and it creates a nice curve and things like that. My goal was to have something that at 30 Hertz was maxed out gain of the 8 dB curve. 63 provides that. Exactly on 63. It provides that where at 30 we peak out. Because if you know anything about soundtracks of Dolby Atmos movies, most movies essentially get their bass to the peak at around 30 hertz. They go lower, I'm not saying they don't. They go like the Batman, for instance, the chase scene. Some of the grunts from the car go ultra deep. So yeah, but I'm saying most of the heavy hits come from there. Okay, now we're back at 87, so we've got the volume back. Okay. +8 room curve. So we all know the response of the flat now. Well, let's look at it. Let's actually look at the differences. So this room curve doesn't apply much to these 160 hertz areas, 140, 120. To be honest though, around 120 it just starts to rise. And probably here actually then. It's just starting to rise. So that's really the range of the subwoofer as well that you want. A lot of this stuff, even though I did EQ for it, all I wanted to do was make sure it's a smooth handoff. So it's nice and smooth. There's nothing really going on here. Now you could say this peak here is a little bit, you know, you could say that hopefully we've rolled off enough there, and I don't, you know. All right. Anyway, but yeah. So what I've done is created a nice curve here, and again at around 30. Is supposed to be where we've hit the cap for volume, and I think that's about right. Yeah, right there is where you hit the cap in volume for things. And this is again what I think with movers. If you're designing your two subwoofers for movers, you want to max out the volume of the subs at 30 hertz. Now really good subwoofers are going to continue this line here. Really, really good subwoofers. I mean, maybe to the 18s, if you're getting into the 15s and you've got this flat response all the way down there, that's, you know, that's a pretty heavy subwoofer. I think a lot of people's subwoofers, like I said, mine go down to 25. Where is 25? I mean, 25 was actually here, and we did start to come down, but it was more like there. I think that peak. Where was the original? That's a flat cow. Oh, timeline. Right, there. So it was actually there. That was the original response. Interesting. Now, so let's actually look at the difference between the two. Actually, wrong one. I'm all over the place today, sorry. Okay, so what we've done here is we've mirrored a spot on the subwoofer, which is essentially the low point of the subwoofer, and we've pretty much mirrored that in volume. Maybe by 1 dB you could go more. I think we probably do need 1 more dB. And then the peak, again, should match there. And I think I am going to go a bit more on the subs, just to get that back. But I think it would only be like one on each again. Because I don't think you'd need more room curve than that. Again, these should touch, and that should touch. Let's go 66. Let's remeasure. Okay, now they're touching. Yeah, and now they're touching there. Okay, perfect. That is absolutely perfect. That's exactly what I want. Don't love these colours though. I guess we'll do a blue so it's different. At least we can see it now. A lot easier. Alright, so again, this is what I've done. I have matched a calibrated sub response in volume to a point on the subwoofer which I think is the place that I want to do it to, which is essentially the lowest point, you could say. Forget this. This is obviously a horrible room thing doing this. I'm not going to do it to that point. But I picked a part where the subwoofer still had juice, essentially, all the way up till about 163. So I just picked this spot at around 153 just to match in volume. So that's what I would do with any subwoofer. And you apply a room curve which matches the original response of your subwoofer. Again, this is tailor-made for your room and the power of your subs. Now, we're running into a problem here. I've said this in many videos, but you can never go above the performance of your original sub. And we are way out of bounds here. You can't do this. So what I want is this is where the speaker's dropping off naturally. The speaker has to drop off naturally in exactly the same way. I would not push any more than what this is showing. Even though we've got a bit more performance out of the sub to like even here, right? 21 Hertz. I want to see this dropping in exactly the same fashion. How we can do that is essentially it's a high pass filter. You can do that in here, in the app here as well. You can do the same in Mini-DSP, and luckily you can do exactly the same here. So okay, we're already on the sub. So basically what we do is we go to the cutoff mode here. This is exactly what you do in Mini-DSP as well. So you go to override. Override at 15. Well, let's see what 18 looks like. Okay, well, it's brought that peak down. Okay, well, let's just try that. I'm using a 6th order, by the way, here, which is the absolute most aggressive way of coming down. Because I don't want any roll-offs happening whatsoever. I almost want to get to my speaker, get to my maximum performance of the speaker, and then just drop it. Because I don't want any ultra low sub bass frequencies coming in. There will still be a few, but I want to drop like a rock. On Mini-DSP, I used the 1/48th. Was the most aggressive I think they had, and it almost mirrors this. So frequency is 18. Let's try it. Now this override mode or high pass filter is going to cut off some of that curve, right? It is. I now don't correct for that. So I have a room curve in place, which is plus 8 dB. That's done now, right? We're done. We don't change that anymore. We're completely done. I'm not putting in more just because I have to cut it off maybe at the end because I need to match the original's response. I'm not doing that. I don't think you should do that either. I think we've hit our maximum performance. Now we're trying to save the subwoofer from blowing itself up, right? Because these are frequencies, that response there are frequencies that this subwoofer cannot do. I know. I won't have any subs left if I allowed this to go through like this. Like if I had frequencies like this, this is 16 Hertz. We are how many? 84 dB. Yeah, we're just too close to this. Like this is, look how much further this is down than this. It's too close. We have to drop this. Again, you won't have subs left if you do that. So this is the +8 room curve. So that's it. I'm extremely happy with that. It's excellent, but we have to fix this. You cannot have this. Again, you won't have subs left if you do. Now, a lot of subs have built-in tech where if it becomes too much, they'll actually lower the volume, or they'll cut off or do something. But I am making sure that that does not happen. Okay, what do we have? Okay, let's pull that out. Some of these colors are being really annoying. So what have we done compared to the other one? Hasn't really dropped much. So right, because it hasn't. Yeah. So 18 is where we started dropping. I just want to get an idea of when this is happening. This is all I'm doing. So it is dropping far. You can see here, it's right here. This is the one here. It should be a different color. It is starting to drop this signal, but we haven't really changed this part yet. So let's reconnect. And you're going to have to go through the same process here of finding out where you want to drop your sub compared to your original response. You're just going to have to find it. I'm going to go up +2, so to 20, and we're going to see. In this respect, again, Mini-DSP was easier to use, because again, you're having to send, transfer these filters backwards and forwards and things like that. But I will say this, after being fully calibrated now, the fact that you don't need to buy a Mini-DSP, but have it plugged in, you don't have to buy extra cables for the subwoofer cables and things like that. It's just a lot easier to manage. There's some finicky things about this app and things like that. I actually reported the bug to Odyssey the other day about I wasn't getting sometimes the response of the app. It wasn't responsive and just things like that. So they're looking into it and things. And this app, I'm sure, will just get better all the time. So, all right. So, what was this one? 18. Yeah, that's all I'm doing right now. 18. Then we can just see them really quick. Okay. This is 20. We don't want to see that. That's the original. I mean, to be honest, all I want to see right now is really the original response versus what I'm trying to achieve. We're getting closer, right? We are now. It's starting to drop a bit more aggressively now, but I am mirroring this response. And again, it's because I've calibrated subs now for 2 or 3 years, and I know that the performance must match this. Reconnect. $22. Okay, that's pulling it down more now. Transfer it. Yeah, so yeah, just this is it now. You just gotta keep doing this and until you find your original subwoofer's performance is what I would say. And again, this is a sub saver, right? This is employed to save your subwoofer from just pushing way too hard in frequencies where it does not belong, right? You may have an amazing subwoofer and that's maybe capable of going down to 15. You know, or, you know, generally even below 20. You know, if you can go below 20, you know, good. But I don't know if I don't know if 1,000. I think you'd need to. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much you would need to spend to actually get into the 20s, actual 20 hertz. But you know, I will say this though: these subs sound incredible, calibrated like this. So let's do a level check, just to make sure they're on. Okay, so this was 22, and we're close. Now we're close. Again, I said we are gonna eventually start cutting off some of this, but we are still not quite where I want to be yet. I'm gonna try 24, but I wonder if 23 would be the exact amount we need. Let's see. Let's do a 23 and we'll see. 23. That cut it off again some. Okay. Yeah, so finished off the whole system last week, and after we've finished here I will talk about you know, how it sounds, and is it better than Mini-DSP? In some ways I actually think it is. One of them is the ability to stack EQs, though you could stack EQs actually. Where you can't stack EQs in Mini-DSP, but there is maybe a workaround for that, is editing the EQ afterwards, then sending that entire file, or mixing the two files together essentially. I think you might be able to do that, because I was trying to think about ways. I wonder if you could do this in Mini-DSP, like stacking EQs. So okay, that's sent. And let's see what we have now. We're going to be very, very close. There we go. Once you upload from Odyssey, it does take a little while for the signal to like come back. It sounds tight. When I hear the sweep, it sounds tight. This is 23. We were 23. Okay. Let's pull 22 off. We're very, very close now. We're dropping gorgeously here. We might be overstretching very, very slightly. And for the sake of being consistent, and I do want the performance of the original, we're going to go 24. Yeah, I dropped it more. I'm looking at that bottom screen. Transfer. Now, I did a EQ at the weekend, and that EQ was 23. So, you know, it's just very minor differences. I could be getting a slightly different response here. You know, I have the cushions here. The PC is all here, you know, the laptop is all here. I'm in the way while I'm measuring. You know, there could be a whole little... Also, the EQ, how far I came down, there might be slight differences, but the response will be... In the room, it really will be the same. So... Now, I'm being overly cautious here. about these subwoofers. But again, because we've brought everything down to flat, essentially, if the lowest part of the subwoofer was all the way down here, right, at 20 hertz, 15 hertz, it was all the way down here. When I EQ'd to flat, I brought those levels down to this level. This is why when you've brought now a room curve in, but it's also boosted these as well. So this is why you have to curve this off now. Okay, let's see if the signal's back. Yep. .24. So let's just see what we have. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's it. We have mirrored, right here we connect with the original response, right? And everything below here is actually less than what we had. This is great. This now saves the subwoofer from like basically blowing itself up, which you honestly could do with that. This is what we had before, where we didn't have any of this low pass filter going on whatsoever, and it is just doing obscene levels of bass here that I honestly think you could. There's some movies that will absolutely do this, that will just blow your subwoofer up. Because again, I like to listen to my movies loud, so I want to make sure I'm saving my sub by doing this. So yeah. So room curve, right? The response of this is what I've been trying to sell, you could say, this whole entire time, is picking the lowest point here, matching it in volume. We were flat. There was a flat calibration there. And whatever we were missing now, I wanted to match this. I wanted to match my original peak response, because around 40 hertz, look, the subwoofer actually starts to become much more responsive until it hits its peak. That's where the edge of your subwoofer is, right there. That's where it is. Now this override high pass filter here we've got going on does take away some of this peak, but we've gained so much more response or accuracy from this. I mean, look at all this waviness and just horrible response that you've got going on with, and these are ELAC sub 3030s, and again, I think their default measured response is poor. It's not very good. Like, this is not as well. There's my room going involved in this, but it's not. They don't really sound too good either. But I will say, when you have a response like this is an 8 dB rise room curve. This is unsmoothed. You can see here, there's no smoothing going on. I haven't used any of the smoothing. There's no smoothing going on. And this is really a gorgeous response right here. And these right here from 60 hertz onwards is practically a perfect subwoofer, right? We hit our peak here at 30, which is what I wanted. That's the slam in most movers, right? Most movers, it's a 30 hertz slam. You can go to I forget the website, but there's a website that shows you all the how movers essentially, how they're EQ'd and where their points are. I think it might be BEQ, something like that. Anyway, most movers, I think even Nolan movers, Christopher Nolan movers, are EQ'd to peak at 30 hertz, but they just continue to go into the 20s beyond what other movies do. So yeah, that is the response of the sub. That is an 8 dB room curve being applied. It's to 120 hertz. It's very clean, and even after it's relatively clean as well. We have this, but I'm hoping the Number one is with speakers, you would have an 80 hertz roll off. This is not being heard at an 80 hertz roll off. That's number one. So stereo music will sound perfect. And the reason is because this, look at this response. It's perfect. It's clean the entire way down. So it will roll with your speakers really nicely. Now, now we won't hear this either in the subwoofer channel, and the reason is because anyone that mixes and is worth their salt only keeps the subwoofer channel to 120 hertz to all the way down, right? Back in the Wild West, we'll say, 15 years ago or however long it was, when they were mixing 5.1 music and they was putting dialogue or people's voices into the subwoofer channel, that's not done anymore, right? People aren't mixing that way anymore. So when I put the high-pass filter or low-pass filter on the subwoofer at 120 hertz and I put it all the way up to 250, in theory you could keep it at 250, right? If people mix correctly. If you're cutting off, generally speaking, if you're only allowing bass to go to 120 hertz in the subwoofer channel, then you shouldn't even need that filter, that low pass filter anyway. But you put it in as a you know, you do now put it back in. Let's put it back in as well. You know, it's a long video anyway. You know, let's put it back in. So bass, low pass filter for LFE. Let's put it, it's for 250 now, and let's put it back to the default of 120, right? And let's see what is actually happening there too. Let's double check. Okay, I might have fell asleep there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now let's see what it's like. Okay. Interesting. That is 120 hertz roll-off. Interesting. Well, now we actually have a bigger rise as well. Oh, and that's an interesting thing. When you measure the subwoofer channel, make sure that low pass filter's been put back, because when you measure, it's the average volume you're measuring. So if this is increased in volume, 82, 76, that's 6 dB. That's 6 dB. That is crazy that it could do that. So basically what the low pass filter is that 80 hertz is about equal, and then we start rolling off after 80. That's what the 120 is for then, which is definitely interesting. But the performance here is the same, right? The performance of this portion, this is where bass, the majority of bass signals will be, is the 80 hertz. We also have the 80 hertz roll-off as well. So this doesn't get applied though to the 80 hertz roll-off from the speakers. This is just for the subwoofer channel. This is the actual response though of the speakers. This is how the speakers will be rolling, or that 80 hertz roll-off. So this is actually higher performance than the subwoofer channel itself. Again, this is in place for a reason. This is really in place to stop bad mixes, right? You know, hey, we made a mistake in the mix. There's information above 120. Well, this stops that, you know, from being an issue. So yeah. So that is now this is now the 0.1 channel's response. Low pass filter applied. Yeah. So that is the low pass filter. That is the 0.1 channel. So response. Again, this horrible peaky dip thing going on. It's all over the place. The subwoofer just has some slam. You know, you can tell you've got subwoofers in the room, but it's just not really offering anything of any goodness whatsoever. Now, when you hear a movie, and let's just talk about a Christopher Nolan movie for a second, a movie like Tenet, right? Tenet has insane bass, crazy bass, and I'm talking it ignites the room, right? And again, with a subwoofer response like this is exactly how you want movers to sound. Bass has massive impact on all of your movers now, like this, with this curve going on. Just absolutely massive impact. It is absolutely unbelievable. Some of the and another thing, you can tell the difference between completely uncompressed subwoofer bass and movers that are mixed, that are holding back. I recently reviewed the Spider-Man Across the Universe. I think it's Across the Universe or Across the Verse. It's the second animated movie, and the bass just, you could tell it didn't have it. I immediately put on the original Spider-Man movie, the animated cartoon on 4K, and the bass is scary. With this response, the bass is absolutely scary. The Batman, the drive scene, the chase scene at night, when you hear the Batman's engine growl, that's scary as well. Sometimes as well, there's sections as well where he drives past the other guy, and you can hear his engine gruff. And I'm telling you now, it goes all the way down to here. It is so deep and heavy. Another movie, Dune. Dune has ultra heavy bass, where the Reverend Mother is saying, "Come over here." When they're using the voice, anytime they use the voice, the whole room just it's massively impactful when you have a response like this. Now again, if you've got subs that go down to 20, the room curve, the room curve depends on your room and your sub. So, but it would look, I assume it would look very similar to this, but the curve would just keep on for longer and then come down, right? So you're now moving into subsonic bass, because this is 20 hertz and this is the peak. So this portion here, right? We're not getting that with these subs. But again, I knew about movie soundtracks, and this is why I wanted to get my peak at 30. And this is why I think I have so much performance with my subs, that if somebody reviewed these, I wouldn't say that anyone would say they're that good, these subs, but they have the power to calibrate this way. And that is the big thing I've been trying to say as well in a lot of my videos, is how much power does your amp have, how much power do your speakers have, and can you achieve the response that you want? And these subs sound great. Music as well. I've been listening a lot lately to Oppenheimer, and I should be getting the CD in soon as well, because I ordered the CD like day one. As soon as it got announced, I was like, I'm buying that on CD. I'm like, I'm going to support physical media, I'm going to buy that. But for now, I've been listening just on like Spotify and things like that. And there's a track called Fusion, and it's like track 7 or 9. It's around then. The bass after about a minute, the bass starts to kick in. It's about a minute or a minute 9 into the track, and the bass is thunderous. It's absolutely thunderous, and that's the thing as well. Music just sounds absolutely amazing. I listen to like a lot of hardcore drum and bass, which is like from the UK as well. But drum and bass, dance music, anything like that that's got a really nice kick drum, an ultra like really subsonic bass, which is the majority of the sound. Anything dance, trance, all of that is just going to sound excellent on this system. Drum and bass for me specifically though is because they do go ultra low in bass, and you can really see who's like on their game when it comes to bass with that type of music as well. So yeah, very, very happy. Can you match Mini-DSP with MultEQ-X? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely you can. And it might even be better as well, because the ability to stack EQs made this area, look at this, this was that area that I wanted to pick up, right? Now look at it. Look how clean it is. Again, from 60 hertz, right? It's just clean. It's following that target curve perfectly the entire way. So the ability in this app compared to Mini-DSP to do that is better. Look how flat, I'm saying flat, but it's rolled off, but it's following the curve flatly all the way down. Gorgeously again. And again, having this response for a movie, movies come alive like you would not believe. Another one, obviously, is Ready Player One. Some people have said that's a little low on bass, but when the balls, the swinging balls at the racetrack, the race at the start, when they smash into the buildings, they go hard, really hard. Another one is the T-Rex. When he slams down and he screams, that is massive bass. Straight after that, you've got the I'm gonna say monkey, but he's the gorilla. But I can't. Somebody will tell me in the comments what he is. It's the gorilla, the big gorilla, right? He jumps off the building and smashes into like maybe the other side of the train, or maybe smashes into a train or another part of the building. It's massive, and then he jumps like into the track and everything like that. It's amazing. It's absolutely, it's just an incredible experience. So yeah, in some ways, MultEQ-X is better than Mini-DSP. But I think I might be able to stack them in Mini-DSP in a different way. I think you might be able to. Again, I might be able to take the original measurement results and just add a few extras, but compared to the I think I might be able to do it. But what I've done now is that I've unplugged my Mini-DSP. Once I did a few demo calibrations, and they didn't go so well, and so I was trying to understand the app, like how much you can plus and minus. There was all of this going on. Could I import a room curve to it? Knowing that then you couldn't do that, I was like, okay, well, can you replace Mini-DSP or not? Then I just got onto simple EQs, and then I was like, well, maybe now we stack the EQs. Once I saw this response, though, like this, I was like, okay, we can ditch the Mini-DSP. It's coming out, right? You don't need it. Now, my receiver has 2 subwoofer outs. So if I said to myself, I don't plan on adding 2 more subs. I don't. But if you wanted 2 more subs and you didn't want to upgrade your receiver, then a Mini-DSP would be perfectly viable to do that, right? You just plug everything essentially into your Mini-DSP and do it all that way. But at some point, I would like to upgrade my receiver, my Denon receiver, to I think it's the new flagship. I think it was released in 2022. It's Denon's new flagship. I think it's the A1. I think it costs $7,000 or $6,000. I'm saving up for it now, but I'm also maybe even saving up for a new OLED TV as well. So at some point I'd even like to maybe upgrade the subs, but I think the subs are all I need for this room. I think I've got them right on the edge of performance. and I don't really think I need it. But the thing is, even with the receiver, how much more performance am I actually going to get when I feel as though, I mean, if you've seen my other videos, the calibration results that I'm getting are just absolutely excellent. So, you know, the receiver would just give me more amplifier headroom. There would be the DACs inside and everything like that would be better quality, so there is potential for better and smoother sound quality. That is true as well. Even the subwoofers, upgrading the subwoofers, even if the performance was the same, right? It may be I got a little bit more performance. You are gaining a bit more headroom though, because you're not maybe pushing your subs quite so hard. I don't really know, you know. So yeah, a few things going through my mind about, you know, what do I upgrade next? A receiver, which I'm very happy with. It's the X6500H Denon. I believe it's 130 watts channel or 140, something like that. And I think for most people, I mean, it was originally a $2,000 receiver. I'm assuming it's still probably about the same price. I think that's about it for me, you know, performance-wise, especially after all this EQing that's gone on and everything like that. I think, you know, I'm extremely happy with this. We've got a little issue here with the room. We've done our best to try and fix it. I think it's good. I'm very happy with it. You know, but the rest of the response is just simply gorgeous. Now, what I could do, what I think I'm going to do is I am going to stop the video here, but I'm going to edit, well, not edit, I don't edit my videos at all, but I know how to string two video files together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now measure this response on my Panasonic UB9000 for the channels, to get the channels right, because I've seen people like doing SPL measurements in REW. I'm never doing that, and the reason is because the sub channel just is not correct on a PC. It's not correct on a PC. If you measure 75 dB here on the subs and on these channels, then I use Spears and Munsell on my 4K player, the results are not the same. I think it's 6 dB. I think it's 6 dB low on here, and I'm not quite sure why that is. But there is only one thing I trust for getting my volumes right, and it is this disc. It's released in 2023, so it's released this year. Spears and Munsell 4K Ultra HD benchmark disc. This is the reason it's 2023 is because there was a previous version released and it didn't have Dolby Atmos test tones. It had 7.1, I think it had 7.1 as well, but it didn't have the Dolby ones. So now we have access to this, and the reason I trust this more than any other is because it's set up in decibel correctly. It's actually set up correctly. I'll explain a bit more when I put it maybe on the screen. Alright, I'm going to stop the video here, but I'm going to come back in a split second. I'm going to plug my 4K Blu-ray player in, because I'm using that HDMI for this PC now. So I will be back. 1 second. Okay, I am back. 4K player is in. Audio. So this is disc 3. There's 3 discs on Spears and Munsell. Disc 3 is an SDR setup disc, but it also contains the Dolby Atmos stuff as well, because Dolby Atmos test stuff doesn't need to be in HDR to get it correct. So the reason why Spears and Munsell is the best, in my opinion, the best disc to use to get volume levels correct for channel trims is because the pink noise, I'm just looking here and I'm reading this off, is the pink noise is 500 Hz to 2 kHz, and it's at 0.30 dBFS. So that's 30 decibels below what I would consider reference, which is 0 dB. So and that's for all of the channels apart from the subwoofer channel. The pink noise for the subwoofer channel is 30 Hz to 80 Hz, and it's negative 40 dBFS. And the reason for that is because the subwoofer channel is 10 dB hotter, so it's negating for that. So yeah, that's it. This is the only disc I use for getting my levels right. I've done this for years. Even on the old discs that were just 5.1, I would only ever use Spears and Munsell, and I've done that for years. And again, if I've tried REW before, I'm not using it to set on my levels. There's no way, because it just doesn't give accurate results. So what are we doing here? What are we doing back in the RTA section? Well, RTA is excellent. Doesn't matter if I'm full screen for this, but the RTA is excellent because it provides averages in volume. This is all I care about here. It doesn't matter how long I've been going for here in this corner. There's a corner there to say how long I've been going. But after about 10 seconds, maybe even 20 seconds, the differences in volume become a lot less. At the start, they're erratic, right? They're kind of erratic until you get a good average, and then they start to slow down. And once you start to slow down, you really see whereabouts in volume a speaker is, right? Measuring in SPL with a subwoofer, I mean, I'm sure you've done it before, and you've either done it on your phone, or you've bought something from Amazon, or you have the old Radio Shacks like I do. The subwoofer's like 86 or 76 dB, 72 dB, 70. It's all over the place all of the time. I was always trying to think of like average. Is there a better way to do this with averaging the results as well? So once I get introduced to the RTA, I was like, well, it actually measures volume in a much better way. The first time I did this was it was a year or two ago, and I was like, well, let me try it on all of the speakers. And it was the first time I got my center speaker set absolutely perfectly. I'm like, whoa, dialogue is so much easier to hear now because you've averaged the volume over, say, 20 or 30 seconds, and it gives you so much better results. All right, let's get into this. So now there is going to be some pink noise being played, so I don't want to talk over too much of this. So I'm just going to get my receiver up to a level where I know what it is. It's +4 on my receiver. Okay, that's +4. We measure. Okay, does that... Okay. Okay, I'm not going to edit this. I know what happened. When I pulled out the HDMI, it caused this problem. Save. Yeah, we'll save. Let's save this for YouTube. YouTube subs. Okay, that's saved. Yeah, it was pulling the HDMI out, so yeah. Okay, should be okay now, I think. Yeah, look, in my videos, like I make a lot of mistakes. I take too much time in explaining what I want to do, but that's just the way I like to do things and the way it is. All right, we should be okay now. So even that, right, after 40 averages, I knew right away that we're in the ballpark for 75 dB right away. You can go a little longer if you want. Let's do that full, so you can really see this. But I knew right away after about that. As soon as we start to really balance out, you can, I know around 75, 11. I've done this in the past and it's been 75, 75. I think it just depends sometimes on power for the day. There's like that ebb and flow of, hey, you do it another day and it's slightly, the mic could be in a slightly different position as well. You know, there's a lot of different factors. So it looks as though we're about 75, but let's go a little longer. Let's do another longer one. They're only 1 minute pattern test tones. Okay, 7510 to 7520 in that ballpark. Now, if you saw this, you might be able to hear it on the mic, but there was a car going across the road, or past the road, or even outside some other where up there. And I constantly do this whenever I take measurements. I'm like, well, if I'm seeing bass signals or tones, that's not in the pink noise. So I know it's some car outside, or someone's next door neighbour started their lawnmower, things like that. So yeah, generally speaking, we've got to 75 dB. Now, because we put the room curve in, we've got the volume right, we might not be too far off of this anyway, off of the original response. But then again, it depends what the original response was. So now let's go to the subwoofer channel. Play. Right, sub channel. Okay, we're low. We're low by about 3 dB. Is that 3 clicks on here? It might be. Let's just, I'm at 66 on my subwoofers right now in volume. My right subwoofer disconnected. Alright, we're back. It does like to do that. Alright, let's go to 70, increase it by 3. The right sub's having some trouble. Yeah, right sub is like not taking the volume. It just becomes a little unresponsive. Okay, I'm going to restart the app, because I think it has been open for a while. So, okay, let's put it in. It's disconnected again. Oh, and if you have an app like this and it's like one of the subs is like being like this, always make sure you pause your test tones. Or never have a test tone playing on the subwoofer when you do this, because I've done this before and I pressed the wrong thing on the phone, or I've just pressed it and for some reason it went up to 100, and you could blow your sub like that. So again, you've got to be careful. This is why I've done this a lot now, and I always pause when I'm making the volume adjustments on the sub. Always. Alright, it's took. So let's see what we have now. I knew like within 26 averages, I knew right away that we were 3 dB under, right away. Why did I do that? Alright. Play, sorry. Okay. Pause it. Could go up 2, but it might be aggressive to go up 2. Let's go up 1, let's be safe. If I hit 75 dB, I'm done. That's it. Because when you have a room curve like this, and your speakers are calibrated in this way, as soon as you hit 75 dB, that's it, you're done. I've heard a few people say, hey, you can be within a few dB on your subwoofer of a volume, like you can be 3 dB higher or something like that, and it won't sound. If you've got this type of calibration on your sub, as soon as you hit 75, you're done. There's no more that goes into it. 69. Try it. That's it. Even though it heard my voice there. Let's go again. That's it. And that's how quick and this way is, in my opinion, it is so much more accurate in volume. When you do this to every single speaker, you have better center dialogue. Measuring with SPL, where it's just all over the place, even with the center channel, you know, you kind of just all over the place. Still, when you average, it just becomes an easier number to read and to go after, because if your speaker is constantly producing that volume, it will show you here. And that's the thing as well, can it hold that volume? Because you might have some peaks, you know, it might peak here and there and you'd be like, oh, we're on track, but you're not on track at all. So subwoofer, much more accuracy doing it this way. Center channel, incredible accuracy. And I've done all of my speakers in this way, and it's superb to get the volume like this. But again, you don't need to go above this. Don't go above this now. Do not go above it. You've got absolutely perfect performance with these results now, with this curve that we just had. And yeah, that's it. So okay, this is how I calibrate my system. You know, I spent a little time trying to get things right on the video and things like that. You know, I make mistakes, you know, all the time on the videos and things like that. You know, things take a little longer than they should. You know, with the EQ, but I want to keep the video almost as real as I can. Like, these are some of the situations that you're going to have to go through about working. Well, what is the volume? What should the volume be at? And I want this is still going. I wanted to do a video that you can hear the mindset, that things that are going through my mind while I'm calibrating. You know, so I hope this is helpful, and it does show that the MultEQ-X app is more than capable of replacing a Mini-DSP, and in some cases it may even be better. So with that said, I had very, very similar response using a Mini-DSP as well. The only difference would have been the curve where it was bending down a little. I would have probably had that as well with the Mini-DSP, whereas on this app I was able to align those better. You know, so there is that is very nice. You are limited with the cues on this app, on there, but again, there's workarounds. If you know that your cap is 10, but for some reason it showed 11, but if you know that the cap is 10, look at your EQ numbers and see what it's using, because you can still import them. So you know, I didn't really have any restrictions doing this. So it took me a little while to get used to using this app, understanding what some of these things do. The fact that you can use milliseconds now is incredible. You can timeline your speakers absolutely perfectly with this app. It's amazing. Now I would only use these two. I think these two are excellent to use. This allows you to cut more and things like that, and I didn't really see any point to this. So have you used this app to calibrate your system with Mini-DSP, doing everything manual, doing everything all by yourself, and importing everything? There's a lot of learning to go through, like the house curve thing that was only every 3 hertz. I couldn't use that. I tried, and that didn't work. So there's so much to learn here. But again, if you're willing and you're dedicated to it, and you really want to achieve the best sound possible for your room, and that's the thing, that response, the response that we have, or we have just calibrated here, is a response that matches the output that is capable of your speakers, your subs, and the room itself. Like that rise, it just matched it perfectly. And movers, again, just come alive with this. So, alright, that's it. I'm not quite sure how long this video is when I started, but I do appreciate you all watching. And I hope you learned, I hope you learned something, like even if it was one, thing that's, he does it this way, that's actually a good idea, or, at least I hope so anyway. You can get near perfect response from your subwoofer, and I just think it comes down to how you approach the calibration. And yeah, I just think, I'm over the moon with the response right now for this. Very similar to the DSP, the Mini-DSP, but again, it's just allowed me to tighten a few things up. So, but basically, it is the same. Relatively speaking, it is basically the same sound as I had with the Mini-DSP. It is. It just allowed me to tighten a few things up here and there, and that was it. So if you have a Mini-DSP and you're like, well, if you've got it set up absolutely perfect and you're like, well, there's a lot for me to learn on this new app and I don't feel comfortable, you don't have to do it. But if you want to learn how to use the app and everything, and you really want to go after this like I did, I wanted to make this work, and just to see if it was truly capable of matching a Mini-DSP, and it is. This is great though for anyone that wants to buy a receiver and has access to this. It's $200, yeah, but if you want to go after the best sound, you don't need anything else outside now. You need a microphone and stuff and things like that, and REW and things like that. You do need those. You're not doing with this. You're not doing a calibration like this with an Odyssey microphone, or having Odyssey automatically doing it for you, because the response is terrible. The subwoofer response is nowhere near as good as mine. The speaker response is it has no curve. It's very poor. Odyssey for me, and most automatic room correction systems, unless you're in trim-off levels, I think that they're just poor. They're just not good enough, and you have to go manual if you want the best sound. The response that I got on the subwoofer, let's just open it really quick. I know I am going on here. So YouTube subs, all SPL. Let's uncheck everything. Right. This is the subwoofer channel, right? LFE. Can a trim-off achieve this, right? In default mode, where it's allowed to just calibrate a system automatically by itself, I would be shocked if it could do this. I'd be shocked. Automatically by itself, and you didn't tell it to do anything specifically special, and you'd be able to achieve this level of quality in a subwoofer. I just don't believe it. Now, maybe someone in the comments will say, no, it can do this, but you have to do this. Now, maybe, again, even on a trim-off level, you might have to just go straight into, like, look, even that is not quite good enough. But when you can do everything manually, like you can in Odyssey, you can achieve anything. The thing is, though, again, to get these type of results, there's really nothing else inside Odyssey that could give me better results than this. Like, what else is there? Like, show me here. Oh, it could clean this up. Well, I could just apply another EQ filter here, clean that up. Oh, you could maybe, it's very small things. For me, I consider this a perfect response. I've got this little error here, yeah, sure. But I think a lot of rooms somewhere down this line will have a similar error as well. But again, all I'm saying is, get used to, in my opinion, get used to doing this for yourself. If you can learn this for yourself, it is so much more gratifying to be able to achieve this response for yourself than try and have some automated system try and do it, and it just cannot. It can't come close to this. The subwoofer response from Odyssey default in its basic most measurement is a joke compared to this. An absolute joke in subwoofer response. It doesn't do anything. It actually tries to balance it flat, which is not what you want to do. You want to, like, I was EQing to flat, but I'm bringing my room back into this. Like, I think even Odyssey was actually trying to make the response flat, and it just sounded worse. So, yeah, I mean, Odyssey comes on all these, Denon and the Marantz receivers, and I think, from what my point of view, it gets a really bad rap from people, especially people like me, that want more, and its automated system is not good enough. They have to change it, because I think it's embarrassing, the level of EQ work that Odyssey is doing by itself, automatically. I've heard it in my own room. Awful. Absolutely awful. I turned it off right away. I was like, this is terrible. Years down the line now, we've got access to this app, and like even the phone app, you can hack it a little and import your own stuff and things like that if you really want to. But again, this level of response, and even from my other speakers, you got to do it. You have to do it by yourself. So but look, it feels really good. It feels really good when you get these types of results, and it's a learning process that is, for me, it's enjoyable. Years of this now. Even from when I was younger, like when I had a Laserdisc player with one subwoofer. What volume? The first thing I asked is, what volume level should I have this at? I didn't have test tones, so I had to try and get an idea for the volume of movers compared to the volume of bass. Even since then, like when I was like 13 years old, I was trying to understand this, and now we've got to this level where we can see everything, control everything, and get insane levels of bass from, well, we looked the other week, these are $900 subwoofers, so $1,800, and these the way I've got these subs set up, in my opinion, is as good as they can be in my current room. So super happy. Just another thing as well. I know I'm going on, but when you go and watch a movie in a movie theater, and you go and see it in IMAX. IMAX is louder than Dolby cinemas. They have it as loud as they can be and everything like that. We come back here to our house, and we put like on Tenet or any Christopher Nolan movie, right? And it just sounds better, right? It sounds much better than my local IMAX theater. Much better, more even bass. I know it's like a big theater, so you can never be in the sweet spot truly in a movie theater. or anything like that, but this just destroys the movie theater experience, and I'm talking totally destroys it. If you've seen my other videos as well on calibrating the rest of these speakers, what I hear is just unreal. It really is. And the sound quality on like 4K Ultra HD soundtracks, Blu-ray soundtracks that are in Dolby Atmos are just unbelievable. It's unbelievable, some of the sound that you might not hear with an uneq'd system, and you might not hear with uneq'd subs. Like, what's on the discs is insanely good. It's just unbelievably good sound. And some people, there's only a few, well, some people don't have access to that sound because they haven't EQ'd anything. You know, imagine just buying speakers, putting them in your room, and thinking you're done. No. That's the start of the journey. That's the start. You want to keep going on and EQ the whole system for yourself. That's where the enjoyment really comes, because you'd be shocked at what you can achieve by yourself. So, been talking way too long now. I do appreciate you watching, and I do hope you find this video enjoyable. So, thanks. Bye.